Welcome back. You're watching Standpoint here on Morning Prime. We continue pace with the conversation with our panelists, holding court with Gladys Boschole, who is the Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly. Also, we have Dr. Makale Muli, who is a Member of Parliament, Kitui Central, Faramalim, Member of Parliament, Dab, member also of the Speaker's panel, and also Senator of Bomet, Hilary Sigay. And the question is regarding the finance bill that saw the passage of it, the third reading, now waiting for the assent of the President. Also, the issue to do with the pronouncement of the CS of Trade and Investment. This is Moses Kuria, that regarding the media, what was tripping off his tongue as well. And we saw the President siding with him, and shockingly people were saying, why is the President siding with Moses Kuria, raising questions regarding that. And you can see on screen right now is the President is on the driver's seat. This is the Hustler Safari Rally, and on the side we can see also the people who are chiming on or really lifting hands. There is Azimio, another rally circuit coming soon. That is what Ozona has drawn for us this morning. And we have media there, all, as you can see, the camera being poured the oily mess, as the rat will put it there, by Moses Kuria. This was just happening last week, and he's gone full steam ahead to still call them to call out media, despite the fact that there is a court order for him not to really denigrate the media. Gladys Boschole, Hilary Sigay, and Farah Malim. Farah, let's just hear from you first of all regarding the pronouncement of Moses Kuria. He called the media some expletives that cannot really be mentioned here on this table as well.
You know, media is never independent anywhere in the world. Every media house has got an editorial policy, and they are with one side of the political divide or the other. Mm-hmm. And it's so profound in some cases. If you go to CNN right now, you don't accept Donald Trump to have very kind words for a CNN reporter, and you've seen that many times. Mm-hmm. You don't expect Biden to have very kind words for a Fox News. Mm-hmm. Under Obama, Fox News got zero, advertising from the government. Why would they get? Because a regime is different. You see what I mean? You don't go there and the people who are ideologically at variance with you, you go and support them. So this business of thinking that you can have a media that has an editorial policy, and you have a government that does not have an editorial policy, you know what I mean? The government has an editorial policy also. They will support those who support them, and they will not support those who don't support them. And that's why you have change every 5 years, the right of recall. And that happens all over the world. Mm-hmm. The Washington Post, you know what I mean? Yes. And what is the New York, what was the other one? New York Times. New York Times. And the New York Times. They have got that variance. One is conservative, one is very liberal. Mm-hmm. You get my point? Yes. The conservative one cannot be very kind to any Democrats or liberal political setup. The same, vice versa also. So if you choose as KTN to hammer the government, and the government of the day thinks that you're not too kind to them, mm-hmm. You've been supporting the opponents, you know what I mean? One way or the other. Mm-hmm. Why do you expect them to come and support you or to have kind words for you? You get my point? You think you can go out there and say all awful things about a government, and people who work in those governments will come and support you and give you all the advertisements and say very kind words about you because ostensibly you are in a fair reporting. You are not in a fair reporting. No media house has got a fair reporting. And that essentially is the way it is. So we're not reinventing the wheel.
So you stand with what Moses Kuria was?
Yes, whatever he wants to say.
With a strong verbiage that he used against the media.
Look, he's talking about the principle.
I'm talking about the principle. Okay, I'm talking about, look, even those very unkind words. I remember Ronald Reagan way back, and Gladys should not call me a dinosaur when I talk about some of these things in history. She says I'm the library. So Ronald Reagan one time was being asked by media, and he said, what does this SOB want? You know what I mean? A son of a bitch, because he can see the media, and he doesn't like them. He doesn't like that particular house, media house, but then unfortunately the mic caught it.
This was supposed to be off.
And he didn't apologize.
And he didn't apologize. He didn't apologize. Look at Biden right now when he's being asked, his own spokesperson there, the lady, the black lady, of the white, and the media comes out there and is very firm and very hard on Hunter Biden, you know, and she cuts him off. I've heard you, and I've told you my answer. And then she picks out another journalist, a favorable journalist.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And then that journalist asks something else completely because he doesn't like that line he's taking. But the people out there, the masses out there, do have their choices that keeps on changing. You know, always in an election, there is a massive undecided votes who begin looking around, and some of them, you know, they have their different opinions about different things. So the way one person appeals to that, you see what I mean?
Yes.
If for example, the leadership of the party right now, of UDA,
Yeah.
For whatever reason, feels that whatever Moses Kuria has said is probably going to alienate a certain other, you know, sector of the overall population, they will find a way to deal with it. You get my point? But then for you to tell the people how to conduct themselves, no, you can't.
But
because nobody tells you how to conduct yourself.
Okay, regardless how the media has come out to be maybe biased and leaning on one side, Hillary Segei, do you think that is supposed to be coming, you know, from the upper reaches of government, especially with the seat of Moses Kuria, who is a face of Kenya when we're coming to very serious trade dealings, and kudos to him and the president as well with the EU agreement that we had as well. We shall be discussing that much later. But the question is, does it befit him to actually talk like that? Looking at chapter 6, integrity.
What is integrity?
But if we had,
if I may ask you the integrity, yeah?
Integrity is from the integers, you know, holistic.
Hang on a minute.
Yes.
To tell you to go to hell is not an issue that should be discussed as an integrity. The integrity is basically how you have managed the public resources yourself and the public policies themselves. But the manner in which somebody's emotions are expressed is not.
Indeed. But how do you judge a leader?
For example,
how you handle your emotions.
For example,
you can't just have a blow up of emotions in public.
Can I just tell you
Give
something?
the example of Boris Johnson.
Can I just tell you something? No, I don't even want to go to Boris Johnson. I want to go back to this country. You know, the first president, in a public rally, he used to say, "Kuman in a zenu nyinyi." You know what I mean?
But that was a draconian. But you need to also take cognizance, please.
No.
I should want my director to actually be now actually on that particular blip button, especially when Farah is speaking right now.
No. But
I know what you're talking about.
What I'm talking about is that whatever somebody says, you know what I mean. Eh? If somebody tells you, when I let you pussy, you know, those kind of things, the words that are used by a public. What you have to understand is that public officers are part of the society. They have emotions. They're Kenyans like you.
Indeed.
You see what I mean? They are not robots that you will basically go and bash them the way you want, and then you expect them also to have kind words for you. Integrity basically is the manner in which you transact public policy issues itself that are universal. It's not the way you yourself conduct yourself. I remember very well, what's his name, Makwere. Makwere was told that, were you in Koinange Street? You remember that time?
Yes.
And they told him, Koinange, mimi nilikwenda kwa mama yako. Alimwambia hivyo, you know, they told that.
Yes.
And Kenyans appreciated that, and Makwere took that media house to court, and he was given an award. Because the media decided to have that nonsense of destroying people's politics. Hang on a minute. Of destroying people's politics by saying this man was out there in Koinange Street looking for, you know, for whatever you call it. You know what I mean? And he lost his temper. And the media guy who came to him, he called him all sorts of names. And at the end of the day, this is a human being.
Right, thank you. Let's hear from Hillary.
The most unfortunate thing when we speak about this principle, Dibali, is the fact that there is Moses Kuria, the CS. There is Moses Kuria, the quote-unquote big man in the government you make reference to. There is Moses Kuria, the person, individual, like Dibal, myself, and the rest of us here. When Farah speaks about that principle, in a democratic society where we are in, everyone is entitled to that opinion, including calling out the media that they are biased. As an individual, then, he has no kind words, or he has got kind words for whatever situation that he's in. That be the case. I would think that in the context of this conversation, when you look at the person, it could be that the choice of words could not have been kind to some people, but the principle is he was entitled to comment and call out when it is necessary to call out a media house. When it is necessary to say that this is wrong, it is it. And that is all about the principle of everyone else in this society to hold their opinion, including now the opinion that I've said, to call out the media to be biased. But then again, the big question that we must also try to answer is, do we want to live in a society where every question, right, or every position that an individual has cannot be answered? Or you've got answers, in this context now, the comments that could be coming from any media personality that cannot be questioned, because that is exactly what we would want to debate. I would rather be in a situation where every question must be answered, but not every answer cannot be questioned. That is the position that this debate should be in. But so that when somebody says something negative about me, I don't have to question it merely because it's the media. That would be wrong.
But indeed, we need to look at the context of where this story is really coming from, because there was an expose regarding the edible oil. I mean, the list that Moses Kuria would have done to act in the wisest of fashion was to just hold a press conference and react to that particular expose.
The unfortunate thing is, the expose is not objective in any way to warrant even an objective response to it in form of a press release or in form of letting people know this is it. I mean, you minimize the truth, expand the negative element of it, and it's so intentional. You know, there's a whole difference between, I believe part of the media training is, before you put pen to paper, ensure that you have established the truth, veracity of your story.
The facts.
Get the facts right. If we speculate, I am entitled to call you out and say, look, you ought to have reached out to me to establish the facts about the story that you are writing, that you're commenting about. And if you do it today, one would assume probably it was a mistake, misplaced facts.
All right.
But if it's consistent,
for me,
that comes out.
Let me also weigh in on this matter, because I think my colleagues have. I think to me, the issue is two keywords: the truth and objectivity.
Just pass me the Constitution. I can't see my.
So that as you, either side, the question is whatever was reported, is that the truth?
Yes.
And even if it's the truth, then the truth will always set us free. So whether Moses said whatever he wants to say, so long as the truth has been reported, it remains the truth. The other issue is the objectivity, the context under which you are reporting. And you know, media freedom is in the Constitution. Even us as Kenyans, we are given the freedom to express ourselves. But I think what I'm picking is like from where the minister now stands. It's like he wants to tell Kenyans that whatever is being reported is not the truth. I don't know whether he wants to cover the issue of the exposes. You are calling it the issue of the importation of oil. But the question is, you guys of the media, is what you are reporting the truth? And if it is, then to me there is no issue. Kenyans are intelligent enough to pick from that detail who is saying the truth. And at the end of the day, I can tell you for sure, the debate can continue at the national level, but Kenyans know where the truth is. And they will stand by the truth.
All right, because the question of integrity, you're saying there is Moses Kuria, the CS, Hillary.
Yes, yes.
Just to quote you, what did you say? You said there's Moses Kuria, the person.
I said that
there's Moses Kuria, the CS.
The CS.
And there's Moses Kuria, the who?
Now,
the third one.
The big man you made reference to in the context of when he speaks.
Yes.
He speaks.
So these are different Moses Kurias we're talking about.
Yes.
So for us Kenyans, we should take them that they are different Moses Kurias who are coming on camera. But what is integrity? You asked what is integrity,
Yes,
right?
yes,
That integrity is you're supposed to be a whole person, isn't it? Going back to the intergas that you learned in school, right? That there's no fractionated. You as a person, that we don't have a Gladys Boschole who is a speaker. There's Gladys Boschole who is a person, her own person, not holding the office, and Gladys Boschole, the foul mouth. So though this is the foul mouth that is speaking, now we should not really take anything because this is the foul mouth Gladys Boschole. No, let's hear from. This is what Hillary is saying.
Yeah.
Because if you look at under Chapter 6 of the Constitution, you say that you're entitled to your own opinion and you can speak it the way you want to. But if you are a public servant, I think
The way
how you handle also your anger really matters as well. I mean, we've seen people resigning and stepping aside in advanced democracies when such words will have tripped off their tongue. Right. Gladys, I'll want to hear from you.
No, okay. First of all, I'm probably the wrong person to ask. I've never had a good experience with the media at all. At all. So I'm the wrong person to tell you.
So you'll go to tired again.
If anybody has been vilified by the media in this country, it is me. So if you expect me to come in your defense, you're asking the wrong person. Yes. No, I'm talking from personal experience.
Yes.
So, and I have no apologies to make about it. Even this media house, I've sued them. Yes, and they've paid me. So I have no kind words at all with the media. And personally, I do not read newspapers. Yeah, I'll flip through just to see what they are feeding Kenyans, but I don't take it as the truth. I'll always call my researcher and say, can you check this for me, what the truth is? Because the way you put it, I've seen the way the media write it, it's biased. Even, let me give you a good example now. The cover page of the Standard. Is Ruto an African diplomat or playing to the gallery? Why are you negative? He has gotten accolades of the position he has taken on climate change in the world. He's taken the world by storm on taking on the global north.
And you'll take
about
me,
them being
and you'll take me on that.
Being emitters, yeah? They're the ones who are the polluters, and we have a principle of the polluter must pay. Nobody has ever had a tough conversation with the global north on this issue, and he has. So why are you saying he's playing to the gallery? He has taken on something that nobody else has. You should be applauding him for it, and not putting an abusive word here. But when you look at, if you look at the way he has taken on the international finance system, yes, that is going to be transformational for Africa and the global south generally. He should be lauded for that. If the conversation on Pan-Africanism, no president in Africa has dared since Gaddafi to take on that position. So please, I never see positive in the way the media does its reporting, and so just the way the media has the freedom, you can write what you want. But I think you should also allow people the freedom to criticize you when you have gone wrong. That is why I will come to your show, even though sometimes I don't agree with this media house. I will come to your shows because, yes, I respect the fact that the media is important for disseminating information. But I also appreciate the opportunity to be able to say this is wrong. I appreciate the opportunity to be able to say I don't agree with your headlines. And a few times I have been able to raise those issues. So, yes, I think, like we said, the media can be free to write, but allow people to say when they don't agree with you. You shouldn't. Why should you take issue about it? You've made so many cartoons. I've seen the media houses have made so many cartoons about that story. It's like you're almost on the defense about it. Even rushing to court to gag Moses Kuria. Even, do you know how many of us would like to take you to court to gag you from saying certain things? But we don't. We say that's part of the territory. When you're in a certain position, people will write about you.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying is that what is good, what do they say? What is good for the
Ganta is the goose is good for the
gander. Yes, exactly. So I think it's
okay.
It's both ways. Yes.
All right. Let me tell you one thing. You have your own media policy here, editorial policy here. This man, I never voted for Ruto myself, by the way. I was in Azimio. and Ruto got some of the smallest numbers of votes in my constituency. But nonetheless, we are issue principle oriented on a vision basis individuals in our own private capacity. Like I told you sometimes back, that I own nobody. And I'm not like UDA who has got to impress Ruto or Azimio or ODM who has got to, talk to Raila from the floor of the house. And that's what happens, I tell you. Now let me tell you, what this young man has done, and I say young man because he's younger than me by far, in that short period of time, is phenomenal in as far as our engagement of the international community is concerned. The international financial institutions, the bilateral, the multilateral, the North, the developed world, and the attitude towards us. And the number of, you see, the only thing your paper, for example, can say here, because you don't like him, is to say how much did it cost us to have all these trips. You get my point?
Yes.
One big contract from Djibouti, that small tiny country, will probably pay 10 times for that. And here you're saying about 20 countries have traveled to.
They are not trips, they are trade negotiations.
They are trade negotiations, employment negotiations. Yes. I mean, things that personally, Farah Maalim, if I was the president of this country, I would have done it from day one. And once in a while you get somebody who's talking your heart. I didn't support him, but when he talks my heart, I have got to be, to say, yeah, this is where we're going. And then look at here. My good friend Opio Wandai says, Ruto is simply caught in the West. He is an opportunist who knows that there is a vacuum of leadership in the continent and is occupying that space by playing to the international gallery.
But he's not even courting the West. He's actually taken them on.
Yes.
So you see, that's even skewed.
This guy has taken on Ruto has taken on the West. And he's saying something. The only person who said that was Magufuli.
Yeah. And Gaddafi. Nobody
Gaddafi
else.
went. Sankara did the same thing in his own way those days. He went. He disappeared. They got rid of him. Magufuli, I believe they got rid of him also. People don't know how he's gone, but I'm sure they got rid of him.
Okay. So I want to
listen to me.
Let us not really dwell there.
Can I just finish?
Yes, please.
You see, these are the problems we have with the media. This is the most important thing any African can discuss today for this continent's emancipation. Emancipation from 400 years of slavery, from 100 years of what you call colonialism, and another 100 years or 70 years of neo-colonialism. This is the first time that we are tackling the root cause of our problems, or the root causes of our problems. The first person who has come out from a democracy, a country that has been basically, Gaddafi was not a democrat, you could say he was a dictator, and look for all sorts of excuses. But this is a person who has emerged through a democracy and a country, by the way, that has had the right of recall from independence until today. We've never had military coups. You see what I mean? We never had a president for life. And when he says this, he's talking to the hearts and the minds of everybody in this continent for the longest. For the longest. The least we can do ourselves is to support him and support him big time and be proud of him. The same way we applaud our athletes because they bring us gold. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because then you would be saying, the athlete come from Rift Valley, that was not my side of that. And then, you know what I mean, eh? Yeah. More or less, we have the competition in the world.
Thank you.
And he's our athlete. Can I just finish?
Yes.
He's our athlete there in that international forum. And he's doing a great job. We need to support him on such things. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
Our own small divides notwithstanding.
Yeah. I want just to bring the issue, just as we
and
are still on topic.
And the media, if it has the audacity to castigate that, and the way we are right now, and I'm talking about the standard because here is the standard.
No, but it's not castigating. It's just an editorial question, right? That is sparking debate. It's not really castigation in any way.
Look at the dollars here. You see this figure here? What's this idea? The cost in dollars of all the travels, and you put travels in here, and you put this is even a cartoon has a million messages. You put in the dollars there, which means he spent a lot of money. You know what I mean? People are talking about the cost of his foreign trips. Those foreign trips are going to bring us a multiplier effect.
But you talk of Magufuli. Magufuli in the 5 years never also traveled from his country.
Well, but he had his own ways of doing it.
Okay.
Well,
can I just drop in Hillary?
I wanted to close by saying that in the whole of this debate, we all aware that negative stories sell. Yes. Why can't we try for one moment to be proud of what the president is doing in engaging directly the West and do a positive story of, let's say, these trips the engagements with the West, the engagements locally, both in terms of the struggle that we've had last week about the finance bill. Why can't we look at the positive side of all these things which are happening? And I'm very sure the media will still sell, rather than just dealing with the story that, you know, this is going to attract as many people as possible.
Yeah, I
if
agree
we
with
were
you.
to do that, I'm very sure we will be turning on a different trajectory on how we report, on how we criticize, on how we allow people now to exercise their Article 32 of the Constitution freedom.
Because the negative reporting actually scares away investors.
It does.
So you're not being patriotic.
Okay.
It does.
I wanted to ask the issue of censure that Edwin Sifuna is moving in the Senate
Against
Moses
Kuria.
So that will be debated complementary as well with the National Assembly, if it will.
Now, that has been filed in the Senate. Remember last week?
It's
not in the National Assembly, it's in the Senate. But then part of our standing orders doesn't allow me to anticipate this debate. That's number one. Number two, so I might not necessarily comment so much about it. But then you know who has a constitutional mandate to censor cabinet secretaries between the National Assembly and the Senate. That's number one. Number two is, despite the existence of that mandate to oversight, to what extent can the Senate oversight? But that motion, the Speaker said he hadn't received by the time, because this actually happened when Moses Kuria appeared before the Senate to answer to questions which had been put by senators. And the Speaker indicated that he had not formally received it, though Senator Sifuna said he had already filed before the Office of the Clerk. And we shall look into it. We haven't seen it in terms of formally being placed before the floor of the House for members to debate as to the extent of the mandate on censure of the Senate to the cabinet secretaries. That will be the story now that we can engage, should we get there. But I wouldn't want to anticipate that debate.
We'll wind up that particular debate on Moses. We go back to the UDA question and the auditing of the CSS and PSs.
You know, as I said, it's our constitutional right as Kenyans at individual level and also at corporate level. I think the media has their right to report what they want to report. Individuals have the right to say what they want to say, but to me the underlying line is the truth must be said. We must be objective in our analysis of issues. So long as we stick to that, you will not have these side shows where people feel like you are driving a certain agenda, either for the government or the government is against this media house because of politics. So let's just stick to the basic principles of reporting.
Right,
I think we'll get it right.
Well, just to wind up with an excerpt from, I think, the Daily Nation, what we were saying is that the freedom of media is not just guaranteed by the Constitution. It is indeed one of the cornerstones of a democracy. And the media are not just watchdog for the society, whose key role is to monitor the performance of leaders. They have a duty to point out on any shortcomings. It says, we at NMG do not have any issues with being held accountable for what we publish. In fact, we could expect nothing less. The media are not infallible and sometimes get things wrong. But when things happen, the aggrieved party have avenues for seeking legal redress. The media are guided by the law and a professional code of ethics. When these are flouted, the culprits are held to account. CS Kuria could have gone to court, taken up the issue with the Media Complaints Commission, or sent a formal protest to the management. Media houses have mechanisms through which complaints can be channeled. I can't read the rest of it because of interest of time. I think that's the position they had also with the editorial page yesterday. Now, I want just to latch on this issue that is emerging here. And Gladys, I'll just begin with you. Is there any plans up the collective sleeves of UDA to audit cabinet secretaries and PSs, and under which law? And is it the remit also of UDA to do this? Because we have the principal cabinet minister, who is Musalia Mudavadi, who I think this falls smack dab in the middle of his entry.
Who made that statement?
This is from UDA's Secretary General?
Cleo Malala?
Cleo Malala, yes.
I hope to God he didn't say that.
He said it.
But if he did say it, I can say this without fear of contradiction. I don't know whose opinion, where it came from, but this is my personal opinion. I can't say it's the opinion of UDA. My personal opinion is that the Secretary General, Cleo Malala or UDA as a party has no capacity to audit ministers. Ministers don't report to them. The ministers have a system of performance contracting with their principal, with their boss, who is the president. And the president can delegate that function to whoever he decides in his structure.
You're speaking about UDA.
Sorry?
Because now he's speaking as a voice of UDA.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
I'm a UDA member.
Yes.
What I'm saying is that I don't know where that came from. But also speaking as my own personal opinion, yeah, my personal opinion is that he doesn't have the capacity to do it. The ministers don't report to him. And in any case, ministers are not active UDA members. Yes, and it's very clear that for performance contracting, even here in your employment, you sign it with your boss, and you agree that this is what we are going to do. Think about it. Kenya Kwanza has a plan. The president has been elected to implement that plan that he promised to Kenyans, and he will implement it through his ministers and principal secretaries. Right? So, UDA to come and begin to say, as a party, as a Secretary General, now become the boss of the ministers and PSS, that is a bit off. I mean, it's not common sense at all. That's why I'm hoping that he's been misquoted. Also, in any case, our experience now, and I'm talking again as my personal opinion as a UDA member, I'm personally disappointed with the performance of Cleo Malala. Cleo Malala has been, he has been going on this, what are they called? The UDA membership drives. And they've all been, many of them have been violent. And I was looking the other day, I asked some of the UDA members, I said, we started this party, recruited people in a record under a year, and at that time, there was not a single UDA meeting that was violent. The other day, he's in Marsabit, there is violence. He went to Isiolo, there was violence. He went to Mombasa, there was violence. So I think, and I'm going to talk to other UDA members and say, as UDA, we should begin to ask ourselves, is this guy trying to destroy our party? Yes, because UDA has never been known to be violent. That is something that belongs to ODM. ODM is the one that is normally violent. UDA has never been violent. Yes, it's true. Yes, that's a fact.
ODM is not here to actually defend themselves.
But yes, so, this in the newspapers. You can go to your archives and you'll find the violence in their meetings. This is the first time I'm seeing that UDA is actually having violent meetings. So I think there is something wrong. I'm actually, I haven't had a chance to have a serious conversation.
Your communications process before he comes up with a communique like this, because
that's what I'm saying. I'm seeing it for the first time, and that's why I'm hoping that he has been misquoted. Because I'm thinking to myself, how are you going to audit ministers when you can't even hold one small meeting in a room? It's not even a rally. It's in a room ostensibly to recruit members of
and it's
UDA.
A big audit.
Yes.
It's a big audit.
It's a big audit, I know, yeah. Just get your small meeting in the membership drive correct. Yes, and I'm disappointed that I have to say this, but unfortunately it's the truth. Yeah. So I've not had a conversation with anyone about this. I'm just seeing it all happening.
But
I've
also,
been watching.
let's hear from. We'll come to you, Farah.
The bar. The thing is, when you are signing a performance contract, there is always an evaluation criteria. After a year, how do you go assessing whether you performed or you underperformed or you didn't get anything? So the thing is, I don't think that evaluation criteria belongs to our party. That must be for another person. And I think the Secretary General is overstepping his mandate. I don't belong to UDA, but I think just from an objective perspective, I think what he's proposing is not a party matter. It must be a matter for the executive. I'm sure they were saying their performance contracting, they must have been told this is the way we will assess you, whether you are achieving or not achieving. And I don't think that one is, Malala will be able to sit even at that table. So it's just playing politics.
They'll be audited by Kenyans.
Yeah.
So maybe
but Kenyans don't even know.
Take a straw poll.
But you see, the public don't even know what the mandate of the ministry is. And because you have to have clear deliverables, performance indicators. You know, it's a scientific...
the evaluation process.
Yes, Makali is, that's his job. Isn't that what he used to do? Yes, he knows that, he understands. It's a science.
Yes.
So by the time you come with the indicators and so on, and you actually negotiate the scoring methodology with your boss. Yes, that's how you do performance contracting.
That must have been negotiated
yes,
early
it's negotiated early enough so that it also doesn't become an unfair tool.
So
when you say you go to the public don't have the scientific tool to use. They don't have the understanding and depth of knowledge, because what they will be seeing is just the public appearance of the minister. But they're not seeing that. For example, if we talk about the Ministry of Agriculture, you'll be saying, what is the Kenya Kwanza plan? Is to bring down
cost of production.
First of all, they want to improve food security, which means they want to be able to produce insufficient food. To produce sufficient food, they subsidize inputs, subsidize fertilizer, ensure that seed is the integrity of seeds, and to make sure that where we are relying on rain-fed agriculture, they are putting in more dams and so on. So all those things, they'll be ticking the box to say, the performance indicator at the end of the day is food. Do we have sufficient food in the country? Yeah, has the cost of food gone down? You know, things like that. So how does that scientific process be done by the public and by a political party?
So you need some good indices and metrics to actually...
It's a very scientific process. Which they
but
do
you can actually also do a satisfaction survey, but let's
step back. Let's step back and see where Malala is coming from, because he, according to him, he thinks that you know, this CSS and the PSS have been dragging, you know, that oomph that the president has in delivering for Kenyans in good time, and some of them have been underperforming, and so it's coming from a very frustrated point that he thinks now they should be called out, and this is the only way that
he's running the party. He's not in cabinet.
But how did you recruit Malala from ANC to become the Secretary General in one fell swoop? Even people are raising question.
No, he's in Kenya Kwanza. ANC is in Kenya Kwanza.
Can I comment on the... I want us, Dibal, not to depart from the objective, the context of the... I don't know whether it's a write-up or the comments by him that he wants to do an audit of the CSS without diverting to how he got into office. I think that's not really the bigger picture. The bigger picture here is...
But now, no. It's raising question on why these pronouncements are made for UDA and is not an UDA member if he's still a Kenya Kwanza person.
No, he's the Secretary
He's the Secretary General of UDA.
So he cannot be the SG when he's not a member.
He's a member.
Because he's a member. That's why I'm asking, this hopping from ANC to UDA.
That's fine, because it's in the Kenya Kwanza.
He's part of the Kenya Kwanza, that's why he's the SG
we have a coalition.
Of the party. What I wanted to say is...
Just the way Makali is part of
ODM and Azimio. Yeah.
But what did you feel, for me, in terms of meritocracy, or maybe the party has the honors of who he wanted to choose as Secretary General? I mean, I've been a bona fide member, and then here comes ANC person.
No, that's actually fine. It's never become an issue at all as to why.
In fact, nobody complains.
Nobody complains. It's actually the substantive.
Makali is not helping me to broaden their
what I want
is just...
What out the comment?
It seems like I'm the one who have issues here. I don't have issues. I'm just raising questions.
Allow me to comment.
Okay, please.
When you look at the constitution of UDA as a party, it has a provision of the shadow cabinet secretaries. I wanted to try to bring to fore probably where the SD is coming from in making these pronouncements, and now deal with the impropriety of such comments, especially when it comes to audit on performance of CSS. The shadow cabinet secretaries within the constitution of the party, the mystic behind their creation was not to be sort of an oversighting CS to the sitting CS. A cabinet secretary reports to the executive. It doesn't report to the political party. A provision requiring an office of a shadow cabinet secretary is to ensure that the manifesto of the party, in terms of the executive performing its role, is also dealt with it at a political level. This gives the platform to the political party to comment on what the executive is doing, whether it's still aligned to the manifesto that it shared with the Kenyans. The unfortunate thing now is a situation where the political party, the CS is, the SG is coming and saying, I am going to conduct a performance audit. It is impossible. It's not within his mandate. It is not going to work out, because you cannot audit, for example, a cabinet secretary by reaching out to Kenyans. The best or the least that can be done by a political party is to ensure that its party, which is the ruling party in this case, is still working within the promises that they made to the people of Kenya at the time of campaigns. And that way is a political program that is run at the political platform, not to say we are going to do this. And remember, a number of these decisions can only be made at certain positions or organs of the party. If it's the NEC, for example, certain pronouncements can be done at the NEC level. If it is about the performance of the CSS, it is done at the cabinet level. And also, it is upon the party now to share within its manifesto at the cabinet level through the right fora that this is part of what it told Kenyans. We are not performing at this level. That doesn't amount to audit. And as Diaz Sholay said, let's hope it is a misquoting of the Secretary General that he desires to conduct the audit of cabinet secretaries. It wouldn't be within the mandate of the party to do that.
Okay, and so there's a bill also that Mudavadi is working on, performance monitoring of public servants. I hope, has it actually checked in on the, or is it's still working or not yet?
Yes.
So this is within the remit of Mudavadi's office?
Now within the remit of the Prime Cabinet Secretary's office.
Yes.
So is there any nexus between ANC and Mudavadi and what we're seeing? You could have Mudavadi, I'm trying to test the waters. I'm just asking questions because I can see maybe he wanted to steamroll this particular.
Remember, one is in the executive. The Prime Cabinet Secretary actually does that at the cabinet level, through a cabinet paper proper. This other one is a political space that we are all entitled to, say so.
Right.
But strictly speaking, I don't think it would be one of those things that we can.
Ladies, I know you want to leave because you have a doctor's appointment. But I wanted just to tease out something here in the Daily Nation, especially on wasted millions, because I know this was wasted millions, the shame of taxpayers' money spent on vacant of official government houses. People have been talking about the Green Park. That now we can hear Sakaja saying it will be of no use. After we've spent 240 million shillings on the Green Park, accountability should be questioned on this as well. This official residences, and I know during your tenure, and there was all debate around it, and you say media has been taking on, and you're exonerated by the courts, but we wonder why also the public servants are not really picking up the issue or the houses. We have the Speaker's house has not been the Speaker has not moved in. We have the CJ's house as well. They've never, for 10 good years, it says it's never been occupied. And of course, for 10 good years, it remains vacant.
And the country spent 310 million.
310 million.
Plus renovations.
And of course, during that time, there has to be renovations which are done. There has to be, of course, to make sure that it's prim and proper.
Yes.
Yeah, would you want to comment on this? Because
I think Dibal, and that's why I'm saying it's some of these issues when the press was written.
Yes.
And let me talk about the CJ's residence because I was involved. When the press wrote about the CJ's residence, the story was about me being corrupt. It was never, they never said what had actually happened. And in fact, what had actually happened, which documents I gave the press, and they didn't write about it. Willie Mutunga, as Chief Justice, requested the president for a house.
He did.
Kibaki. He did. In writing. There's a letter he wrote. Then he was asked, the Ministry of Justice at that time, which was the late Senator Mutula Kilonzo, was tasked to prepare a cabinet memorandum. The cabinet memorandum on the CJ's house was presented to cabinet, and the cabinet memo is available, and I gave it to the media. The cabinet then chaired by President Kibaki, no less, approved the purchase of the Chief Justice's house. The Chief Justice, Willie Mutunga himself, again, all these documents are available to the media, to say where he got Wendy Sherman, I think, who was the Secretary for African Affairs, to send him court marshals from the US to check the security of the various houses that had been tendered for. Eventually, that house was settled on by the procurement committee, which I don't get involved. I'm not the tender committee where I'm not sitting. On the basis of all that, we then went to Parliament with a cabinet memorandum and requested Parliament to give money for the purchase of the Chief Justice's house. Then I signed, as the accounting officer, I signed the sale agreement. Yes, I signed the sale agreement. And the issue was, and what happens after that? I'm charged with corruption relating to that house. Yet, nobody wrote the story that all those things happened. Eventually, it took me several years of presenting those documents to court, and that's how, when they realized that they actually had no case against me, because they should have, then they should have charged Willie Mutunga. His own asked for the house. Not
So
me.
he asked for the house, he never moved in?
He asked for the house, then he never moved in, because now he had to sell the story of the corruption, against me. Yes. So and that's what I'm saying. Sometimes if the media is truthful, some of these issues, but headline after headline on all the newspapers kept on accusing me of corruption. It took 3 years for me to be cleared, and when I was cleared, what happened? The media never wrote about it. Never wrote. I never hit any headline about the case being withdrawn. Even recently, when the Supreme Court cleared me and confirmed that I was wrongfully dismissed, the media didn't put it on. It was not on the headlines. It just made its way to Twitter. But you never put the headline. Yet I was on the newspaper every single weekend. I had a full page and 2 spread pages in the middle. And that's why when I say I have no kind words for the media, I don't think I am being unfair.
But then why the house is not occupied for that long?
No,
So that's
what
what
I'm
we're
saying. You
asking.
should write the story and say what transpired. And so the real story is, this was, I mean, it went through the, I don't know about the Speaker's house, but that's what I'm giving the experience of the, I didn't even know there was a Speaker's residence. Actually, I've just discovered.
There's a speaker's residence as well. Oh, okay. So you'd be
I
moving in
didn't
as
know.
well.
I didn't know. That's why, but I can tell you I've given one good example.
Yes.
And that's what I'm saying. If the media is fair, we must always...
Okay, let me just latch on that speaker's residence. So if we have this speaker's residence and many other residents of public officials which are not really occupied, I would imagine that you have a house allowance that you're given, isn't it? So what happens to these particular houses that are not really occupied and you still have a house allowance?
I have no idea.
You have no idea. Okay, let's just leave it
Because
at
I'm
that.
actually surprised, Dibal. You know, the truth of the matter is whether there is a case or no case, after the case is already determined, then I think the house should be free for occupation. Maybe when the
Or
case
surrender it. The judiciary should actually surrender it
Yes.
back to the treasury if they
Yes.
don't want, because it can be given to another government official to occupy. I mean, there's no harm also in the government leasing it out.
leasing it out.
Yes,
so
yes.
that
But-
even if you are paying some allowance to that particular office, then you're also recovering the money through renting.
Yes.
But this is misuse of public resources where you have a
Yes.
house which is already bought using public resources and it remains for 10 years unoccupied.
But that is a question that the Public Accounts Committee
Has it ever been
should be
picked by,
doing.
has it ever been picked by the Auditor General as an audit issue? Because I think that should go through the Auditor General, then come to Public Accounts Committee, and actually should be a matter being debated.
And this is what we're talking about, the wastage of public resources. Allow me just to release Gladys, because Gladys, I want to thank you so much
Yes,
for that revelations that you've given us so far. And even if you quote Dr. William Mutunga is not here to defend himself, I will be in trouble as well, because I don't know his side of
No,
the
you
story.
have the documents. I submitted them to this media house.
There is a document.
So it's not, I always speak fact.
Yes,
And I think
okay,
it was also in the context, in our defense.
In our
It was in the
defense.
context of the documentations that court exchanged during that time. So
Yes,
really
I've not
nothing
said, I've
adverse
not
to the former
given
CBO.
any,
Yes.
I've not said anything disparaging about him. I simply said he originated the letter. Fact. He moved the cabinet to approve the purchase of a Chief Justice's house. Fact.
You said
Yeah.
he used this to actually make sure. I don't know what you actually said, because I don't want
No,
to.
it's been confirmed that I was wrongfully dismissed. So yes,
okay.
he's been already confirmed by the court that he was wrong.
Okay, I wanted to ask on the issue of integrity, and then we will have you on the issue of integrity. Still on Moses Kuria, if we had the former Deputy Chief Justice Nancy Baraza, right, being dismissed because of saying
You should know people.
You should know people.
You should know people.
you should know people, and then he pinched the nose of that guard,
That guard.
and he was actually dismissed.
Yes.
Looking at Moses Kuria, and I don't want to pronounce what he pronounced as well, why should we keep him in office? If we are following the same trait of leadership and integrity, chapter 6, because under that is how...
To say about Nancy Baraza, because again, I was in the judiciary at that time, she was alleged to have pinched her nose.
She was alleged.
It was alleged. It was her word against the guard,
The security guards.
the security guard's word. And so it was a very flimsy story. There was even, they looked at the CCTV footage was looked at, and there was no
Pinching.
picture of her pinching the nose. But I think what happened is, because the media wrote the story and carried it so big and high, I think Nancy Baraza was broken. And I remember speaking to her, and she decided to throw in the towel. If she had challenged it, believe me, she would have been cleared. It's, in fact, I learned a lesson from how she dealt with it, and that's why when I had my case, I fought back really hard. Because I said, I'm not going, they allowed Nancy Baraza just to go down for nothing. If you think Evans Kidero slapped a woman member of parliament, Rachel Shebesh, on live camera, and he got away with it.
Got away with it, yes.
So sometimes I think the standards for men and women is different. Yes. So those are the questions we should be asking ourselves. So I just think it was sad. I wish I had been, I wish I had the knowledge that I have now. I would not have allowed Nancy Baraza to resign. I'd have told her to fight back.
So it should
and
have seen-
JSC also were not nice to her.
Yes.
The Judicial
And-
Service Commission. Yes. So she was unfairly treated. And if we talk about when someone was very unfairly treated, is Nancy Baraza.
So did she resign?
Yes.
She resigned.
She
yeah.
resigned. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
But see, let me-
Or
let
she
me
was-
tell
But
you-
you see what happened? By that time, she couldn't take it anymore.
Let me tell
She
you-
was on the headlines
Yes,
every
yes,
day. They
yes,
said horrible
yes,
things about her.
yes.
She just couldn't take it. And not many people can stand the kind of attack by the media. I mean, for me, I say it's the grace of God that I could actually stand strong through it all. But it's not easy. It takes a toll on your family. It takes a toll on you. Even as a person, it's painful.
I will imagine.
And for someone like Nancy Baraza, who had been a trailblazer in her time. I mean, Nancy Baraza was one of the first women to own a law firm, the first women to, during the times when we didn't even hear, she was with Kina Martha Karua and all. I mean, they were the people we used to look up as young women growing up. So for me, it was sad that we treated her like that. And that is why we have to go back and say the media needs to be fair. When you write that story, just know that that person is a woman, a mother, you know?
Nancy is,
All right.
Nancy,
Yes.
Allow me,
Nancy,
Farah, to
I
take a
just-
short break so that I can release Gladys.
Before you release
and she
Gladys.
can give a closing remarks. Yes, before I release Gladys, I got a minute. It's
Yeah.
my director who is
Before
pushing
you-
me
before
to
you
do that.
release Gladys. You see, Nancy was a pragmatic. Basically, she was rolling this thing too fast for even her own compatriots there in the Supreme Court. You know that. She was kind of a revolutionary in there, and nobody was happy with her. So the moment they got something small on that, everybody hopped onto it. And as she puts it, that's one person who has been mistreated in this country, and later on went back, completed her PhD, taught in the university, and she's a professor now, man.
Yeah.
She's a professor now, and one of the best professors.
And I'm
you
hoping
get
that
in
she
law
can
school.
be given a serious appointment in this country because she's an extremely competent woman. Yes.
Indeed.
We waste the best brains. Yes.
Thank you. Your closing remarks, even as you go.
So just thank you, and I'm hoping that the media can become more fair. Just the way you want fairness in not being allowed to write what you want, also be fair and think about the kind of lives you destroy
All right,
when
thank
you go that way. Thank you.
Okay, a pause giver there. We want to take a short break. When we circle back, of course, we continue with more. Gladys, thank you for coming through. I really appreciate it. We'll continue with Farah Malim, Hilary Sigay, and also Dr. Makali. Farah, don't lose your track of thought on Nancy Baraza. She taught you, she did.
She taught me, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
If she had...
I
if she-
remember the other side of the tracks you came with her on the show. Yes.
If Nancy Baraza remained in the Supreme Court, today the Supreme Court would be a different institution. Let me tell you one thing. That's one, what do you call, pragmatist, honest, serious integrity, and he really wanted to see changes in that institution. But when you get rid of what you call the revolutionaries in a place, then of course you have the conservatives, people who are out there unhappy with the status quo.
Thank you.
But she was not happy with the status quo.
She was not happy with the status quo.
Yes.
You'll hear more of that from the other side of the break as we
Then
go on.
abandoned by everybody.
Abandoned by everyone. You stood by her.
I was, yes. I stood
Thank
by
you,
her
thank you,
throughout,
thank you.
yeah.
And of course, it's a good notion from Gladys that they should be considering such brains as
They
well.
tried the same also on Philomena, by the way.
Yeah, we need to take a short break, Farah. Thank you, thank you. We're taking a short break. We circle back with more. Don't go away. You're watching Standpoint here on Morning Prime.